Hey everybody, it's time for more Cantants!
Cantant! And you might not be able to tell, but we are actually Titans on a Titan-sized stage right now.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
This TV is about 40 meters tall.
It's really big, and you could make a Titan-sized donation by going to subscribestar.com/Cantent
And getting access to our bonus episodes.
Cantant! So we're back. More Attack on Titan. When we last left our heroes, Eren had joined up with the Survey Corps. Levi and the gang were doing things. And there was kind of a shifting of the phase as to what are we going to do now that the initial battle is over.
Yes.
And basically, in the first episode, the characters make their choice. Basically, everyone's joining the Survey Corps. Time to do those things.
All of the important characters who weren't Marco are going to join the Survey Corps and remember that guy, that super memorable guy Marco, moving forward. So that, like you said, there's basically a whole episode of just everybody, like, determining that they're going to actually fucking lay down their lives.
Yep.
And then we get into a sort of 4-episode arc about their first mission and the introduction of Lady Titan.
The Femoid Titan makes her grand debut. There's not a lot to say about the specific details of this batch of episodes, because with the last couple of batches, there's the emotional push and pull of this is their first time in combat ever. We're learning what the Titans are. We learned that Eren is a Titan and all that stuff. Here, this batch of episodes can be broken down into a couple things. One, Eren has to learn, or Eren says again, he's going to work as a team. We learned that Erwin, the leader of the Survey Corps, has big plans. And I guess the third thing is that there's conspiracy things going on, because it's made quite clear after the female Titan appears, she is clearly a human like Eren turned into a Titan, because she's just that smart.
It's funny you say that, because it is very straightforward what happens here. But I did think that this was where it finally got interesting. And it's funny as well because we also watched Dr. Stone and Slime, batches of 5 episodes of each of those for today. And I think Attack on Titan was actually the most interesting of the 3 shows batch of episodes to me, which is something I did not think I'd be saying.
I see what you're saying. I mean, we have gotten into the long prophesized, basically political stuff that begins with last batch of episodes, someone assassinated the 2 Titans they had captured. Who did that? Who is the female Titan? The cryptic words of Erwin that are you sure our enemy is the Titans or whatever the fuck it was? Yeah. Who do you think our enemy is? We're in that shit now.
I think it's very nice for me to feel like I'm out of the stage of setting the tone of the world where, again, I kept complaining about how we had so many crowd reaction shots, random fucking people, just so much cutting away from the action and the story, all we were really getting out of the action and story is the setup of mysteries. And that's still kind of happening here, but it's also kind of the payoff of other mysteries that now that we know there's more Titans that are humans transformed into Titans, are introduced in an interesting and mysterious way, where it's I guess the combination of action and plot setup is really well handled here, where you have the scene where the female Titan takes off Armin's hood and just looks at him. Yeah. And so you're in the middle of this super tense scene and you have this super unexpected thing happen, and that's the most memorable way to raise a question in your mind, to be why the hell did that happen? This is clearly super important. And where it puts us with this character is well, she's fighting Survey Corps members, but she's also sparing Survey Corps members.
Right.
There's very mysterious motivations. It's not predictable, who's she fighting for and why. even if I feel like I have a strong suspicion of who she is, just based on character design, it still doesn't really answer the question of like why is she making any decisions.
And just based on the visceral things that happen in this batch of episodes, I very much enjoyed her more interesting ways of killing people than the other Titans. The most memorable one for me is when she grabbed a guy by the wire. I mean, she's clearly smart. She knows to grab wires. If she gets your wire, you're fucking dead. Yeah. And she just takes one and just spins that motherfucker, and we see like the blood just squirting out of this fucking mangled mash of flesh. That was quite fucked up.
It's a great way to escalate things, to have us go from like Titans that are just mindless like zombies basically to one that is like fighting with purpose, that understands how the enemy's machines work and is therefore, like you said, able to kill them in new ways, and also a new environment, because all of this takes place with like the characters galloping in formation across a field and fighting Titans along the way, which is cooler than it sounds. Like, I didn't expect the unique ways that they will just kind of, have incidental little houses on the prairie or trees here and there that like they can do fun things, make the Titans crash into them and stuff. I thought the fights on the open fields and in the forest were just better than the ones in the town. Like, even though I love all the shots of like everybody flying through the town with the crazy CG shit, which is always fun, just like the constant energy of having everybody be on horseback, everything's moving all the time, and they're fighting out in the open, and everyone is relevant. There's no fucking random civilians who I really don't care, like getting, like even the people who are just like getting destroyed, like they're at least super powerful dudes, and every death is kind of meaningful because there's only so many of these guys.
Because the Survey Corps has been built up as like the most elite guys so far, and to see them die, means something. We saw like Armin's squad leader, the guy, his horse likes to chew hair, and then immediately does that. And that guy, who we now have a little personality from, he kills a Titan successfully, and this is the thing, there's threat escalation, and there's he's able to kill even an abnormal Titan pretty easily, but it's just, so this is making it clear that normal Titans and even your basic abnormals are not that much of a threat by themselves. It's the unique factor of these like human level intelligence ones. These are the serious threat. Yeah. It also in the fact that they're able to like bring other Titans with them whenever they show up somewhere. That's the new danger, it seems like.
Yeah, it's also super obvious now that the Armored Titan was also one of these transforming ones. I have a suspicion about who in the group it might be. It's a guy who, in one episode here, this is so not justified to me in the way this is presented.
Yeah.
This dude is grabbed from the air and then squished. Like, you see the hand close and blood shoot out of it. Mm-hmm. And then a second later, he just like cuts his way out of the hand totally fine. So either the initial blood we saw is like, I don't know, the blades going into her hand as she grabbed, not likely. Seems like either we're supposed to think that literally happened, she literally squished him and he regenerated like a Titan, because he looks like he would be the other Titan, or like that just didn't happen. It just looked like it happened for dramatic effect, but just didn't happen.
And there is some precedent in anime in general for things looking like they happen, but they don't actually happen. So there's a little bit of flexibility there. But I would say at a minimum, that moment was very suspicious.
Yes.
So that seems
fair. Like, it's drawing attention to itself. It's either like flagrantly like misleading, which would be annoying, or it's deliberately trying to set me up for something, but none of the other characters noticed it or pointed it out, and it's just for me as just for me to confirm my suspicion. I don't know.
At that moment,
am I meant to be thinking this guy is a Titan right now? I don't know.
Armin comments. We're talking about Reiner. Just that's just who everyone knows who we're talking about. And Armin does comment. He says like, "Oh, I forgot, Armin." And if you think back in the ranking of like 10 through 1, like Mikasa was the #1 fighter. Reiner was the #2 fighter. So she's like, "Oh shit! Like I forgot Reiner is a giant beast of a man." So they threw you a little bit of a bone there with something like that. But who's to say? Who's to say? But on the point of getting out from like our initial setup sequence, I think it's funny to look back at Marco, and we talked about this a little bit before. That of our squad, I think Marco was the number 10, like the bottom strongest guy of our like 10-man squad that we learned at the beginning. It was like Mikasa, Annie, Armin, Bertold, whatever, and then Eren, and then Jean, Connie, I think Sasha, whatever. It doesn't matter. Point being, Marco is the sacrificial lamb of guys who had a name and were with our guys for a bunch. And as you pointed out rightly, he was by far the most
Obviously
expendable.
going to die.
Obviously,
All his
death
dialogue
flag.
was, "Wow,
Yeah.
everyone else is great," and like
He was the
that's it.
nicest guy, and nice guys finish dead, as we all know. So I just think that character was clearly put in place to say, okay, one of ours dead, we all really feel this death, so now the threat of death looms over these other characters, even though they could last another 1,000 chapters each, you know, but it's there, someone died.
That's a thing. So there's a few ways you can structure these shows, and I guess I'm kind of glad to know I was wrong about Attack on Titan, because I thought this was going to be more of a systematically every character dies show originally, which is more like Game of Thrones or most horror and zombie stuff. Like, the point is, like, okay, you know, we've got 8 dudes, so however long it takes to rhythmically kill 8 people is how long the story will go. That's not the case here. This is more of a kill one to establish that anything can happen, but then, like, nothing's gonna happen to these 6 characters who, like, are the main 6 for at least a long time. Like, but that's fine, because, like, otherwise no one would ever get any character development. Like, this show is so plot focused that, like, it doesn't really set aside a whole lot of time to, like, just talk about a character or, like, you know, have them hanging out and be like, there's not a lot of slice of life in this show.
No,
because life is horrifying and shitty in this world, and you don't really want a slice of it, you know?
Yep. So one of the other cool things about this sequence that I think bored people initially a lot as it's coming out week by week is this whole like formation thing that this is really like Erwin's arc. We're seeing how Erwin is the commander of the what do they call them, the Freedom Riders.
You know what's gonna happen when you die? You're gonna rot in the ground, and people are gonna go on living, and they're gonna forget all about you. And when you rot, do you think it's gonna matter whether you were an original gangster?
Survey Corps, yeah. We were given like a sequence teaching us
Freedom Riders.
whatever, the Freedom Riders.
What are you tripping?
About like teaching us like, oh, this is the command structure. And it seems really boring at first. Like, oh my God, they're doing all this smoke signal stuff. At least it does give consequences and stakes, and we can at least follow what's going on in the field.
I like that stuff because, you know, even though on the one hand, I can sense, like, from the author's perspective, it's like, okay, if I find an excuse to separate all my characters into groups of 3, then A, you obfuscate who is the Titan, and B, even though there's only one character on the team who didn't show up this entire fucking arc. I wonder why.
That's true.
And, you know, also so that different thing, like, Mikasa also kind of doesn't really show up until, like, all of a sudden, like, there's a moment where we just see her in, like, a tree with one of the other girls, and with Sasha. And Sasha's like, this situation is definitely especially dangerous because I just heard the noise that Titan made, and it's like, that's
a cornered animal sound effect.
Yeah.
They're extra dangerous when they're cornered.
And this activates Mikasa to think, well, that sounds retarded, but she's usually right, so I'm gonna go check on Eren. And it's just basically like that was the excuse to have Mikasa re-enter the story for this. Like, she had just not been doing anything for a little while.
Well, to be fair, didn't they just, like, every single one of those guys was just hanging out in the trees and doing nothing? And I think that they all only rushed in once the scream happened because all the Titans were rushing to the female Titan anyway.
Well, my point is that, like, in the whole travel to that area, there had been no Mikasa. Like, she wasn't doing anything. So this is a convenient way for us to, like, get just the characters that he wants to write about for a while to be around and have a reason that, like, Mikasa doesn't just step in and solve everything all the time, you know?
True.
But, like, it was a good excuse for this because there's a bunch of logic to this formation. Like, again, like you said, the smoke signals, there's a lot of, I guess, a lot of justification for why these characters are separated for this instance.
And it's interesting to point out that there appears to be no real reason to be doing this expedition whatsoever at first. We're told it's just a
It
test
seemed like
run.
there was somewhere in particular they were trying to get to.
There's two separate things going on. This particular one is a test expedition in preparation for the real expedition they're doing later, which is to recapture the Shinigami district or whatever it is where Aaron's from. That's coming later. That isn't the purpose of this expedition.
But where did they have a destination in mind at this expedition? Like, were they going somewhere to come back and like?
They don't tell us. I think it was just to test out the recruits, like, and let them feel what a formation is like and give them practical real-world experience.
Okay.
But the thing is, and this is the other good thing about this sequence, it does seem to be revealed, that, and this is why I'm sure it was kind of annoying for people. They're like, what is the point of any of this? Well, people are dying. There was a point to it all along that we learn, and it's that Commander Erwin was using this strategically. People are like, why are we going to a forest? This seems like a bad idea. It was all part of the plan. Because in this expedition, Erwin expected Aaron, which is why Aaron is here, their most valuable fucking asset, to be bait for, now that they know human titans exist, to draw out the people who he thinks assassinated those. I'm a little inferring this, but I certainly believe this to be true. Whoever killed the titans they had captured, now that they know that humans can turn into titans, there's more forces at work here than we thought.
Right.
The basic titans are basically, they could handle them if it was just that. So it's all a trap to lure whoever happened to come out, and it happens to be the female titan, to the woods, where they execute the big shoot 'em full of needles thing plan to trap them in this one place and hopefully cut out the human inside and get information.
You know what's nice is not having our main characters have to be the only or first ones to realize like the potential of conspiracy going on behind them. Like, because so as our characters go into the woods, like, yeah, they make a big to-do about the fact that none of them know what's going on. They're going in, like, people are dying, they're not sure if this is a good idea, they're just listening to command, and, like, they're all kind of suspicious, but, like, all of the veterans are like, look, like, often in this line of work, we have no idea what's going on. Like, shit gets chaotic, you just got to be able to work on your feet and be super determined. That's what puts you in this corps. So, like, they already have a trap set up in the forest. And like you said, I guess he was anticipating that this could happen. Like,
There was no way to know for sure that this would happen. Yeah.
Like, I would assume that they just had this stuff set up on the off chance, or like for, you know, whenever this might happen.
Maybe just to capture any Titan that they happen to want, they would lure to this location. It's, you know, I don't know.
Be. But yeah, so, but like even the fact that they're going into the forest made me start thinking, okay, like conspiracy, like is their commander working against them? And then when they capture the Titan, you kind of get this feeling of like, oh no, the commander is working for them, and he's also suspicious of a conspiracy even beyond this. Like, his conspiracy is within the, you know, his conspiracy against them is to help them with the conspiracy against whoever's against them, or something like that.
Yeah, and the characters
it's a multi-layered
themselves,
conspiracy.
They bitch and complain a little bit. They're like, Aaron, are you saying the commander wouldn't trust us? I mean, the answer is literally yes.
Yeah.
Because when
I like that he says that too, and they're all like, yeah, he's right.
When
He
you're
shouldn't
fighting a
trust us.
conspiracy, the whole point is to just leave as little leakage as possible, which means you tell no one who doesn't need to know. And frankly, there's no shame in it. So I think it's a little retarded. These soldiers are even offended that they wouldn't be included. It could be any of you. You could just mention something offhanded to someone, even if you're trustworthy. You never know what it is. You just don't tell anyone. So Erwin is being quite based. And the only unfortunate thing is that while the plan works successfully and they capture the female Titan, she just pulls out all these fucking new powers out of her fucking ass, like hardening her hands or whatever, like the armored Titan. So we know this is a thing that Titans can do. It can be really fucking hard. So they can't cut the human out, whoever it is. And then in the desperate moment when they're just gonna blow her up and try to save whoever's in there, she does her big re-screech, and all the fucking beta males, Titans, come running to save their femoid leader.
By way of eating
by
her.
devouring her alive. Yeah, that's the patriarchy at
Which
work.
is pretty sick. That's a really cool idea of like a situation that takes a lot of imagination to invent a circumstance whereby a secret agent Titan, in order to protect its identity, screams and has a bunch of other ones eat them.
And to be fair, it's the same kind of idea as giving any secret agent or spy or whatever, just like a cyanide capsule. It's the same.
But this is the coolest version of that.
Yeah,
like,
considering she's a
possible.
Titan, you need something more advanced to cover up the information. So the whole sequence, while frustrating that like, oh, they were so close to like getting more information, while it falls through, they have learned like, oh, serious shit is happening, and we know these Titans have more powers, so there is gains being made here.
I feel like we as viewers got tons of information.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
This is a rare case where I feel like we are kind of given more than the characters. Like we are expected to kind of be suspicious on a level they're not yet.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't feel like the show suddenly went like we weren't supposed to have noticed anything. Like the characters, oh my God, we're in a conspiracy. No, it's like, oh shit, of course we're in a conspiracy is more what it's like. The character's like, oh fuck, I should have thought about it. How could I not have noticed beforehand? You know?
And of course, the final point on that is in the last scene of this batch of episodes, we've got someone in a Survey Corps uniform shows up and kills one of the like elite squad members, and they're like, "Oh my God, whoever was in that Titan is disguised as one of our soldiers and is currently killing us. We're fucked. What do we do?" And that's where we leave this particular scene.
Something I wanted to touch on, 'cause somebody mentioned that we had not talked about the music in this show yet. And
the openings are both fucking great so far.
The OPs are fucking amazing. Made by Remo.
I can't even remember how it goes, but the openings get me fucking hyped, and it's hard to skip them.
If you like them, you should listen to more Sound Horizon, 'cause that's his band. And they're good. But like the music in the show is all done by Hiroyuki Sawano. It's like a very famous soundtrack, and yeah, it's great. All the music is fun and hype and over the top. But like, all of this motherfucker's soundtracks are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So at this point, having watched like Kill La Kill, which, you know, I love the soundtrack in Kill La Kill, but that one has like more relevance to the plot more often in terms of like lyrical content and the meaning of the songs. Like in this show, it's like just hype shit a lot of the time, you know?
Yeah, I think we've touched on it before, but like I do really like the openings more so than they just sound cool. They are like specifically propaganda military anthem type songs with words in German, which the characters like in real life would probably be speaking because they're from clearly like a German society or something. Right. So that aspect of it being, I don't know, like the meta of that is really cool. And I like to think that the characters themselves, like Eren, puts on his fucking headphones and jams out to this on his Walkman before he goes out to slay some Titans that day or whatever. And it's pretty sick.
His fucking like sticks and stones Walkman made of like
his weird gas-powered 3-dimensional Walkman.
Yeah. Steampunk Walkman. But yeah, like the music in the show is good. There are some like songs in this batch of episodes that I was like, man, this is a good song. But like, I guess just because the show has such a like moving manga kind of aesthetic, it just feels like the music is playing over it, and the music just sounds like Hiroyuki Sawano music. So it doesn't gel for me in that way where it feels like the music is a part of the show. It just feels like I am listening to like, oh yeah, it's, you know, it's that guy. And like, you know, Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress had him on it as well. A lot of the same team worked on that show. I think the music was better integrated there because it was like planned around having this music in it, you know? So even though it's a good soundtrack, I think it's one of the weaker usages of Hiroyuki Sawano music because it's literally just there to make hype.
Yeah, I mean, at no point did I think to myself while watching that like I thought any of the backing tracks were particularly good. Was there a vocal track when they captured the female Titan, or am I confusing that with another one?
There's a vocal track when the guy's giving his speech on the stage about joining the Survey Corps, but like, again, it was one where like the lyrics were kind of like, I mean, this isn't really that relevant, you know? It just sounds cool.
Tsubasa, Aosora, you know, the usual shit you get. Way to go,
like
team.
Like the Rick and Morty Get Swifty take.
Only with anime cliche words. Yeah, epic, guys, epic.
All right, well, that's it for this episode of Can Tending.
Wait, repeat that after this fucking plane goes by.
Well, that's all the big guy that we're going to fight on this episode,
Yeah.
and we're almost done with season 1.
That's right. One more episode, and then we're all the way to season 2, which is not that far. It's just a drop in the ocean of Attack on Titan.
I think the new season is actually like starting this week or something. Like it's starting early for some reason. So follow. You know, we're gonna catch all the way up to there by the time it's over. So
we'll be caught up soon. So stick around. We'll take you all the way down, baby. All the way down.
All the way up to that Titan's neck to chop it with our blades, like you can do, and scream "Can Tans!" while you're doing it and film it and give it to us via Discord or
Film
Twitter.
yourself while using your 3D maneuverability gear
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
trees while fighting the female Titan. Wouldn't that be epic?
That would be sick.
We've been getting some more submissions of those, and keep them coming. They're fucking lit.
Amazing.
And of course, go to Subscribestar, $10, and all the bonus episodes are at your fingertips, including Read or Die, the Adult Swim OVA that you know and love. I guarantee it. And it was pretty cool. And that's it. Just Discord, Twitter, follow the things. You know how it is. Subscribe, like, comment, etc., etc. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.